returning students are familiar with. Students will select a photograph from a list, and the link to that is also a pin. I'll send out that direct link in a moment. Students will pick a photograph and then talk about it, describe what they see, what they experience in the photograph, and then make a couple sentences about it. And the photograph and their sentences I will paste into the Jamboard. This particular exercise is an exercise in self-expression. Ultimately, language is a tool for self-expression. Language is one part of self-expression. We do it in many other ways when we are physically together. Um, and students who are learning English at all levels will often ask how, when they are speaking to others, how they can remember vocabulary, how they can remember putting sentences together. And this is an exercise that, among other things, helps that. In this less pressure environment where you have the time to think about what you would like to say, think about what it is you're feeling inside, what you would like to express. This is an exercise where you can step back and think about first what it is you want to express, what it is you're feeling, what it is you're hoping, and then begin to put that into words. It's an exercise that is effective for advanced students, intermediate, and beginners. And oftentimes we will see some wonderful sentences and expressions from more advanced students, but it can be just as effective, and I would encourage students who are early in their English learning to have a chance to participate as well. Oftentimes, you can be as effective expressing yourself with a sentence of a single word as you can with an extensive sentence. And one thing that is, in our classes, as I said, all students of all levels are welcome, and that interchange is very effective. Beginning students can see some of the work of the more students who have been studying for a longer time. But advanced students can also be helping and supporting students who are newer. So it works very effectively to have all those groups together. So the picture exercise will mostly focus on that process of thinking through, demonstrating, and trying self-expression. It will not focus so much on either grammar or pronunciation. And our approach to all of those, again, is in a natural way. We don't focus us on rules. We simply speak and write and receive corrections and learn in that way as a child does. Okay. We have our classes tend to grow to become rather large. And for that, and because of that, the teacher, interact with a smaller number of the total number of students who are there. Much of the learning that goes on, sometimes some of the most important learning, occurs in the audience between students. And there are particular students who others will come to be acquainted with, who have been particularly helpful in offering support, offering answers to other students. I see Lei is in the audience right now. Lei is one of those students who has offered so much to others in answering questions, in providing materials. Lei is actually putting together an extensive document, including vocabulary, and when that is completed, there will be a section for that in the Notion page. Demonade, who I think is not here with us right now, is also one of those students. Demonade, in addition to being a great student, as is Lei, has created and been managing a set of Google Forms to collect feedback for our classes. One thing that we do in our learning community is constantly take feedback and suggestion from the students. There is a set of Google Forms uh, linked books to read. The Thank you, Narasi, for sending the direct link to the forms that Demonade is managing. Um, One of the links is suggestions for books that we will look at either fully or in part. Another form is suggestions for topics for presentation. Students are welcome to form small groups of their own to get together, prepare, and then present a presentation on any topic. It may be about their country, what life is like in their country, food that is typical there, or their experiences with learning, anything at all. So that that is that form is to suggest topics that you would be interested in hearing as students. And the final form, which was just added today, for um, is for what your as you become exposed to the Jamboard, what your experience is of doing that. Do you find it helpful? What information would you like about it? That is the third form there as well. Students who would like a chance to participate will do so by raising their hands, and from that, I will pick students to participate. Again, the classes tend to be rather large. I wish that we had the chance to have everyone participate. It is a smaller number. Question, if you don't get to participate directly, if you have a question or comment for me and you haven't had the chance to do that, you're welcome to send me a direct message. Messages that you send to me in the chat, I will often not see during class simply because so much is going on during class. I try to check in on the class. One thing that is very helpful is students who will let me know if something goes on in the chat that I should notice but have not seen. So students who happen to be on stage can do that by voice or try and get my attention with a direct message. I will also accept all friend requests, and I will get to the direct messages and the friend requests after class is over. So again, if you want to make sure I see something from you, a comment or a question, make sure that you send that to me in a direct message to make sure I get it. And Narasi, thank you for your comment about your suggestion for how students can be of assistance in directing that to me. I'm thinking about that suggestion. I will let you know if we proceed with that. Thank you very much for that suggestion. On the weekend, and I'm seeing a number of general questions about um, uh, learning English and about specific questions. Um, in a moment, I'm going to ask if there are any quick questions about the class itself, about what we're doing in this class. Those general questions that I'm seeing to this class, we'll be doing the picture exercise. For those general questions, I would encourage you either to send a direct message and I'll make a few comments, or this weekend, on the weekends, we do open question and answer sessions where students can ask anything that they would like about English, make comments about the classes, and during those open question and answer sessions, I have time to go into more detail. So at the opening to the class now, I do take just a few moments to take just some quick questions. They will not be detailed answers, but especially because the students selected to participate for the exercise is a smaller number of the total in class. We'll take a few minutes now to I'll call on hands for questions. Again, these will be quick questions or comments. For longer responses, you might try the question and answer session over the weekend or send them to me directly. So I'll take just a couple hands right now. The hands that are raised should be questions or comments about the particular class. Again, they won't be detailed answers. If your hand is raised to participate in the picture exercise, go ahead and lower your hand for now, and then raise it after I do these questions and answers. Again, this will be general questions, and if you would like to participate in the picture exercise, wait to raise your hand for that. Okay, we have hand raised Nigya. Hi, welcome back. Hi, Nigya. What is your question or comment?
I have a question.
Hi.
I learned about a collocation. I learned collocation about family. Idiot family, and which sentence I could use with that word. Like,
Uh, with the word immediate family or with a different word?
yes, immediate family.
So immediate so some families can be very large. You
Yes,
can have brothers and sisters, obviously your parents. The family can grow from that. You can have relatives. You can have parents of your parents. You can have cousins. You can have uncles. You can have aunts. Your immediate
yes.
family, your
I
immediate
know its
family is,
definition.
uh-huh.
Yes, I know its definition, but I don't know which context which sentence I should use to like to make example for them to make example for that works immediate family.
Can you, and again, we won't spend very much time on this right now, but just quickly, can you can you quickly think of a sentence that you would use? Do you have a sense of how you would use immediate family in a sentence?
I mean, immediate family is consists of my parents and my siblings, brother and sister. That is just.
Exactly. Exactly. So can you think of a sentence that you would use that in?
I mean, I maybe I actually I asked this question on English question this morning, but
Mm-hmm.
they said it's necessary to say immediate family. It's just
Yes.
okay to
Don't
say family.
Yeah, without thinking, and let me just say quickly to the entire class. Our classes here are focused on tools, techniques, and methods that are demonstrated, that are described, that you then, speaking to all the students, that you then take outside of class and use in all of your English study, in much of your other study as well. So my answers will generally be general answers to help you learn tools, techniques, and methods. And I'm doing that with you, Nigya, right now. I'm going to send you a link from a sentence dictionary that would be helpful for this. But what students will also see me do is helping the student to proceed through how to answer their own questions, how to become their own teacher. So one of those steps is to start by making your best effort at first and see what you come up with. And Niga, you have the correct understanding of the term. Oftentimes, the best thing to do is to think through something not very carefully. Sometimes the best answer is the one that comes easiest to us. So Nigya, and again, as you know, in our classes, there are truly no mistakes. Everything is an opportunity to learn. If you were just using that idea, as you said, your brothers, your sisters, your parents, and understanding that the phrase immediate family refers to that, just give me any kind of sentence that would use the phrase immediate family that would refer to brothers, sisters, or your parents. What would be any sentence that would refer to them?
Um, I have a special feeling for my immediate family.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Or I have a small immediate family, or I have a large immediate family. One really important way, possibly the most important way to learn the meaning of a word, to understand the deep meaning of a word, and we looked at this in our exercises in active reading, is through context. We start by looking up words in a dictionary. English is one of those languages that is great in its flexibility, in that one word often has many definitions, and that adds to its wonderful flexibility, but that can be at the same time somewhat confusing. So a dictionary definition is the place that we start. That will give us an idea of the meaning of a word, sometimes several meanings, and we have to think through which one applies. But where we really come to understand a word, and this is part of the natural approach to learning. This is part of the natural approach to learning. When you think of who are the most expert language learners, the most expert language learners are 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, young children who have this almost magical ability to learn sometimes many languages at the same time, and they never look at any book. They never attend any class during those years that they're first learning English so fast. Um, all that is done by observation and by experience. Most of the learning occurs in that way, including as we become adults, in seeing things in experience, in seeing things in context. A dictionary definition is the start. Seeing examples in sentences is often the best way to both understand the meaning and see how it's used. There are a number of sentence dictionaries. I list some of them on my Notion page. One very nice one is called Sentence Dict, and the example for that, actually, I'm sending a link, and I see sometimes when you copy a link and send it, the entire link doesn't work. I tried to do that uh, there. If you open that link, it's going to, I was hoping it would take you to the actual entry for immediate family. The link did not copy correctly. But if you type in the top and the white box, if you type immediate family, you will see many examples of sentences with immediate family. This, using a sentence dictionary such as this one, and there are many, this is only one, this is the best way to learn from context how it's used. And you can see many sentences there similar to the one that you used. Uh, Learning from context, whether it is speaking with others or looking things up in something like a sentence dictionary, learning from context is one of the best ways, or possibly the best way, to see how words and phrases are used. So in that link, once you looked it up, you can see many
Yes.
examples. Is
Yes.
that
Thank you
helpful?
so much.
You're very
Thank
welcome.
you so much. Oh, uh, I'm back.
And again, and by the way, as Nigya just did, for those students who are new, after you have a chance to ask your question or to participate in the exercise, when you are done, then you return back to the audience. You press the button next to the microphone and select return to your audience, just as Nigya demonstrated. So I spent a little more time on that question than we usually do for opening questions, and that was not just to answer the question, but to demonstrate that that our classes are about not specific answers, but tools, techniques, and methods, other things that you do as well. Manu, today we're doing a picture exercise, and I'll describe that a little more in a moment. Okay, I will take one or two other quick questions. Again, the hands that are raised right now should only be for general questions. If your hand is raised to participate in the picture exercise, go ahead and lower your hand for right now. We're just taking a few general questions about the class, about our classes, what we're doing, or comments. Diadina, go ahead. You have an invitation. Hi, welcome.
Hi, welcome. Oh, I'm sorry.
Uh,
Sir, I have a question
please.
about. Um, do you remember the last time I was asking about the grammar?
Remind me. Go ahead and remind me.
Okay. So, if I would be asking you out, we were working on the grammar structure and express it out through making poems and story, and that would be great too if we could read in front of the others, like on the stage, so we could like learning grammar and express it through the story. What do you think if we could do that in your class?
So describe again how that would work.
Uh, through the story, making the story, so we learn about the grammar structure, and then we could express it on the poems or the story or anything else. So what do you think?
Um, we sort of do that. I think what I would encourage you to do, you've been in many of our classes, and that's great. I would encourage you to continue to do that. We try, again, the approach here is not on particular rules. Grammar, of course, is so important, but in many ways, grammar comes second, and I think that's part of what you're expressing here. Uh, English, the language, the talking, the expressing comes first. Grammar is the attempt, some of which is successful, some of which is not. Grammar is something that changes over time, oftentimes very much. Uh, um, what begins is the actual conversation, the actual speaking. And so you see, Dina, many examples of that in the variety of exercises that we do. And some of the classes are focused more on grammar than others. This class is going to be focused on self-expression. Some of the classes, students will write their own sentences, and I will make corrections to the grammar. That is something that we did on Thursday, 2 days ago, yesterday, in particular, and the day before. We did that by starting. That is part of your suggestion. Students will, then they will write them the natural way without referring to any particular grammar rules. So if that's the idea, we do several things like that. Different classes focus on different aspects. Sometimes we focus on pronunciation. Sometimes we focus on grammar, where we will highlight corrections to grammar. Sometimes it's on self-expression, as we're doing now. One thing that's very important in learning, speaking to all students, is to only do a little bit at a time. So much that we want to learn, we're so anxious to learn all of it. Sometimes we take on too much at one point. So when you're learning, I encourage students to focus on one aspect. Of course, sometimes you combine parts of those. But in our classes, we try and focus on one aspect. Today, of course, again, it will be on self-expression. Sometimes it is just on identifying grammar mistakes and correcting them. Does that sound like what you're describing, Diadina?
Yeah, yeah,
Great.
I,
Great. So
yeah.
continue to be in classes, and I'll identify which times we're focused on doing grammar. Thank you for that suggestion.
Thank you too.
You're welcome. I will take one more quick question, and then we'll begin the exercise. Again, if anyone has a question, a general question, not for the picture exercise, a general question, go ahead and raise your hand for that. Hands that are raised now should, not for the picture exercise, but a general question or Alan, go ahead.
Oh,
Hi,
oh,
welcome.
oh, thank you. It's not a question. It looks general. Like, for example, I think I can express myself, but sometimes also I think in a kind of plateau for new.
In part, that is exactly what the exercise of this class is meant to do. In a less pressured environment than when we're speaking to others, um, becoming practiced and experienced with using vocabulary and using phrases to express ourselves. And we'll see examples of that throughout the class. But in general, as I've said, I will always recommend reading as the most effective way to develop your vocabulary, to develop phrases and sentences to express yourself. It's similar to the idea of if you wanted to become a painter, one thing that you would do is look at the many paintings of the many great painters to see examples of what can be accomplished and to see the different styles of paintings. It is the same thing with a language. By looking at and reading as many different books as possible in English, and it does not have to be advanced literature, oftentimes, and this is what I recommend to beginning students, oftentimes reading children's books is the best way to become introduced to English, and it's just as effective for advanced students such as yourself. By reading as much as possible in that lower pressure environment, you're able to get more and more ideas of different words to use to add to your vocabulary and to see how phrases and sentences can be used effectively to express yourself. Again, we're going to take a look at a particular examples of that in the picture exercise in this class. But reading is always the first recommendation that I make. And then the next part of, as I described, active reading and active learning is to, not with others, but by yourself, use those words, use those sentences that you're learning by typing out, and it actually works even more effectively if you write by hand onto paper or with a computer, but somehow it's even more effective when you write by hand to write as many sentences with those new words as possible, to write sentences with those words and phrases, to take the same word and phrase, put it in different sentences. Doing that in as many different ways as possible works like any other kind of exercise. The more we comfortable with what we're doing, the more we remember it. And then when we start to talk to others, to remember that some of these phrases and words we're using for the first time, number one, seek out people such as we talk about in this class that you feel most comfortable with, that will offer you that we experience in this class, and to do as I described, just a little bit at a time. Again, we want to accomplish so much with our English learning. We often try to do too much at one time. Learning English in one giant time. The same thing in their speaking ability. Rather than seeking conversations where you try and use all your vocabulary, where you try and do so much, try and do smaller bits at a time, smaller conversations. Again, seek out people that you can do this with, who will understand and who with you will do the same thing to try and just do little bits, smaller conversations, less amount of vocabulary. To start with reading, to develop your own list of vocabulary, to put those into sentences of your own by writing, then to start speaking in small bits. In that way, progress is slower but more permanent. What you do learning in that way, the progress becomes more permanent. It's slower, but it is more permanent and more effective over. Is that clear? Does that sound like it could be helpful?
Yeah, perfect.
Thank you so much for that question. Let's proceed with Narasi. Let me moment. Narasi has been very helpful in pasting information into the chat. I appreciate that. Let me give Nurasi, do you have a particular question?
First of all, hello, how are you? And
Hi.
I don't have any question, but always suggestion. I want to say
Say that one more.
I will think it. Reply it. There is.
Nurasi, could you uh, say that one more time, or type the question into the chat?
I typed already.
Let me. I
Emma typed.
Oh, Emma typed it. Let me see.
Yeah.
Okay, let me look at that. I'm always mixing up pronunciation. Okay, thank you for that, Nurasi. Thank you for that. Go ahead and jump back to the audience and let me respond to that. So, um, welcome to the classes. We've enjoyed having you. So glad that you have been joining us. So a couple things. One, students will hear me say the importance of distinguishing accent from pronunciation. And this is a hugely important part of learning. And this is discussed, you'll hear me discuss this often in classes, and there's a section of this on my Notion page as well. First of all, accent. Accent is very much part of our individuality. All accents are correct. There was a time when in English learning we thought that, or it was said that accent is that there's only one or possibly two correct accents. We now finally realize that that is not the case. That accent is part of who we are. Accent is the tone, the melody, the song of your voice. All accents are beautiful. All accents are correct. There's a characteristic sound, a characteristic melody to the sound of someone from France, someone from Indonesia, Japan, China, Australia, Greece, Ireland, Russia. Every area has a particular sound, a particular melody to it. And their pronunciation is something that is different. Pronunciation is the accurate production of the sounds of letters or words. And there is the physical activity, and because different, the sounds vary somewhat. But there is the letter T that is different than the production of the letter D. We do in our classes a very specific four-step approach to pronunciation. And we usually do those on Mondays at least. We did that last week. We will probably do it. We did that last week. We will probably do it again this coming Monday and Tuesday. A very specific approach to it that helps students to clearly articulate, to clearly produce the sounds. Again, it's different from accent. Accent should never, ever difficulty in being understood. It is always, always a matter of pronunciation, never a matter of accent. So of course, many students who have not been exposed to this feel that they should either learn one particular accent or another, or struggle with the question, Emma, such as you asked, going between those accents. What I would encourage you to do is to not think about accent at all, not worry about accent. We all actually have a combination of a variety of different sounds, of different melodies, different, as it were, accents. Especially those of us who move around, who go to different areas, those of us who are exposed to different people. We're all exposed at least to different people. And we pick up some of those different sounds. So all of the words that we express, our entire vocabulary, has a collection of different influences. I encourage students for that combination of natural accent that marks all of us. That's part of our individuality. That's part of who you are. is something that you can focus on. Take a look at the section in my Notion page to see the very specific approach that we use in class, and um, join us for the pronunciation exercises when we look at that in detail. So Emma, hopefully that was helpful to you in that great question. And Narasi, thanks for bringing that to my attention. And Narasi, go ahead and jump back to the audience now.
Can I stay here?
Go ahead and jump back to the audience for now. And then we'll bring up students who are participating in the picture exercise for the next section. But for now, go ahead and jump back down.
Yes, I wanted to participate.
What we'll do is we'll give everyone an equal chance for that, and I'll select from the hands that are raised. So for now, go ahead and go back down.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. I see that. Thank you, Emma. Thanks very much. Glad that that was helpful. Again, I will usually not see what is in the chat, because especially once we start the class and I'm looking at the Jamboard, when I am looking at the chat, I will try and respond to things that are there. Apex, your question, how to use propaganda in a sentence. As I was describing with Nigya earlier, the most effective way to learn how words and phrases are used is in context, from listening, observing, to how they're being used. And a great way to do that in study is to use sentence dictionary. So the one that we looked at earlier is Sentence Dict. There are several sentence dictionaries. I list some in my Notion page. This one is a particularly nice one, and the link to it is in the Notion page. Here is the direct link here. So you would type in the word that you're interested in, and there's a very large collection there. I see Tutti Doot, exactly, as Tutti Doot sent to you. Use sentence, that's another example, sentence your dictionary. In fact, let me make a note of that, and I will add that to the Notion page. Tutti Doot, thank you very much for that. As I said, as students make suggestions, we add that to the class, and I will add that to the Notion. That may be in there already. I can't remember. It looks familiar. So the Notion page will list a variety of dictionaries, the sources, a vocabulary list, sites that you can use to find books to read, and I will make sure that that sentence dictionary is there as well. So thank you for that, Tutti Doot. Seeing sentences in context is the best way for definitions. And again, that is an example of how so much of the learning that goes on occurs between the students. There are some students who are particularly helpful with that. Erin has joined us. So many of you have experienced Erin and her wonderful chats with pronunciation and exposure to other languages. And more of you are beginning to act in that way. Narasi has been putting many links there. Tutti Doot just did that with the link to a sentence dictionary. Lei is with us, as I mentioned. Lei has been another student who has been so helpful with providing support and information. Nadix in our other class has been such an important source of support for others, and who with Lazy Potato and Kiki brought to us how to use Jamboard. So this incredible community that we have here is a reflection of what is in each of you, the students, and the great things that we have here is very much a reflection of all of the things that each of you are doing. Okay, so today's exercise itself. today's exercise itself. As I was saying to Adina earlier, we focus on different aspects of English each time. Again, it's important to focus on a small part at a time. Sometimes it's pronunciation, sometimes it's vocabulary, sometimes it's reading. The picture exercise that we're doing specifically is to focus on how to use English, the process that we use to use English to express ourselves. It is actually no different than how we do that in how you do that in your respective native languages. We feel it's a little more challenging in English because the language is new, but it's actually the same thing. Doing this exercise helps us to see how those steps work together. We start by becoming aware of what it is we wish to communicate. It may be feelings, it may be ideas, it may be things that we want another person to do. We use a picture as a way to prompt those ideas within us. When we're speaking to others, the ideas come from us from inside. We use pictures just to give us something to get started for the exercise. So students that are selected will select from a picture in a list, and I'll send out the link to that in a moment. We'll select a picture, and what I'll do is I'll paste it into the Jamboard, and then the student will begin to talk about it. So this is the first step. You think about something that you want to communicate. We're using a picture to simulate that. And then you start by, as best you can, identifying words and phrases, ideas that you think of as you're looking at that picture. And we talk about that. You describe that. And that's the starting point to then put sentences together to describe that picture. So it's that very clear set of steps. You think about something. In this exercise, you look at a picture. You think about words and phrases that apply. You talk about that, and then you put that into a sentence. And then as you do that, I will paste that sentence into the Jamboard. You'll read it so that we can all see it. So the links for that, Narasi has sent the link to the Jamboard. Again, these are all pins, depending on what mobile device or what computer you're using. You can find the pins in any particular chat. So there are pins in this chat for the Jamboard, and and you should be able to open that up. There is also a pin for the photos that students can select from. So take a look at those and let me see, is that, I don't know. Yes, I don't think that's been pasted in yet. So here is the direct link to the photos. Again, it will be a small number of the total students that get to participate in the exercise. I'm going to pick 10, and hopefully we'll get through that. And then you'll choose from those photos for this exercise. So you should be able to open that link to those photos to make a selection from there. And hopefully you were also able to open that Jamboard. Again, the Jamboard is view only. I will paste the photo that the student selects and their sentences into that. So go ahead and raise your hands now if you would like a chance to participate in the exercise, and I will select from those. Okay, so we have quite a few hands already. I will pick a random group of 10 from that, and we will go in this order. By the way, we're in the new voice classroom that comes to us, the English server, from Discord. This is fairly new software, and there's still issues we're working out. One of those is on the particular computers that I use. When you raise your hand, I see your Discord username, not your nickname. After you're called on, then I will see your nickname. That's something that hopefully will improve over time. So if you hear me using your username instead of your nickname, help me identify the proper name to use in the chat, but pay attention for your Discord username as well. Okay, so the order we're going to go in is Dr. Wizard, Nurasi, Ronaldo, Deligma, V. Ran, Sprinkles, Alan Roger, Kai Kamado, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. RBI Box, K-I-A-N, is that correct? And Mio, that is 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's 10. Those are the 10 that we will try and get through. If there are connection issues, there may be connection issues. Students may inadvertently drop out and connect. So others are also welcome to raise their hand. Some of those names may drop out due to connection issues, and then we'll pick some others. But that is the list and the order that we will attempt to go through. And if you were not on that list, we have many classes. I teach 2 classes every day, about 12 hours apart. It's the same class. It's an attempt to meet the time needs of the opposite time zones. So there are many classes. This time is the second version of the daily class. And again, there are many classes, so there are many opportunities to participate. And again, in the question and answer session over the weekend, students can select not just to ask any question, but perhaps to do an exercise that they did not have the chance to during the week. So let's begin, and as we go through this, I will explain again, if the instructions have not been familiar, I will explain again how to get to the Jamboard, how to get to the pictures, and what we do in the exercise. So the first student we will do is Dr. Wizard. Doctor, you have an invitation. Go ahead and accept that. Dr. Wizard, you have an invitation. There you are. Hi, welcome.
Hello.
Hi, welcome. So we're going to do a picture exercise. Were you able to open the link to the photographs?
In which group I can get that?
So the link to the photographs, let me send that again, first of all, are you in the chat, stage classes chat? So
Yes.
on,
Okay, I get it.
Okay, so at the bottom of stage classes chat, you'll see an entry under my name, under Alan G. It's drivegoogle.com, and then a longer link. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, if you open that, you will see a whole bunch of pictures.
Yes.
See, so what we're doing is we're doing a picture exercise to write sentences demonstrating self-expression. So what you're going to do is you're going to pick one of those photographs, and in this exercise, we will write sentences about that. So the first thing that you want to do is pick one of those photographs and let me know which one you would like to use. They're each named, so let me know which one you would like to use.
WC011.
Okay. Let me get that. And 1 second, I'm having a I'm having one computer problem. Let me fix that. Okay, I'm sorry. One more time, WC, what's the rest of it?
WC011.
011, okay. All right, I have that now. The next thing that you the next thing that we want to do is to be able to see the Jamboard where that picture is. So the link to the Jamboard is also in the chat a little bit. It's a pin if you know how to find pins, but if you scroll up a little bit, that was pasted in by Kian. Above where I pasted in the link to the Google Drive. Do you see that link to the Jamboard?
Yes.
So open that link and you should see a Google Jamboard that says picture exercise that has your name, Dr. Wizard, and then that photograph. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so to the rest of the students, you should all be looking at that. We're going to discuss that. I'll have Dr. Wizard describe the photo, and then I'll have Dr. Wizard write a sentence about that. So do it. I just pasted again in the bottom of the chat. And it's view only. It's view only. I'll make the edits to it to prevent any inadvertent edits. So take a look at that link that I pasted in at the bottom. Right now, you'll just see the photograph of the man and that animal. Some of you may recognize what it is. And the name Dr. Wizard, who's doing the exercise, and the title picture exercise. That's what we're looking at. So Dr. Wizard, the next thing that you would do is just speaking to me right now, just describe